So welcome everybody. Thanks ever so much for joining our second tech forum. My name's Ben Cook. I work for ManagementStudio. I'm going to be starting the session off today, running through the agenda. The idea behind these tech forums, so if you didn't join the first one, the idea here is that we speak to a lot of our customers most weeks, in fact, on our mentoring sessions, and we help them with ManagementStudio. We help them set up certain features so that they can get the best out of the tooling. And quite often we see customers doing some quite interesting things with ManagementStudio. And we always say, you know, how can we spread the word about all these great things that you can do with our tooling? So that's the exact idea behind the tech forum, is we're sharing ideas that have been that other customers have come up with to use ManagementStudio in innovative ways, or there are some new features that we might want to show you which might be useful. So that's the plan. In terms of the agenda, we've got 3 presenters for you today. I'm going to start out by talking about application contacts and these new notifications we can do with app contacts. And then I'm going to hand over to Chris Fox, who's one of our customers. They've been using ManagementStudio to automatically upgrade 1,000 devices a day. Some super cool automation in there. So Chris is going to give you a demonstration of how they're doing that. And then finally, we're going to pass over to Mr. Matt Walker, who's going to show you some readiness ideas. So using readiness in both reporting and automation, this is something a lot of our customers have started to do, but not everyone's doing. It's really powerful. So we thought we'd share that with you. And then finally, if you have got any questions, we're going to have a bit of space at the end of the meeting where you can either type them into the chat. I think the chat's enabled. If not, then you can always unmute and ask the question. If you have just joined, if you wouldn't mind going on mute, that would be great. And obviously you can unmute yourself if you need to ask a question at the end. I can still hear people joining. Welcome if you just joined us. My name's Ben Cook. We're started on this tech forum and I'm about to demonstrate the app contact notifications. This is a new feature. What's this all about? So we've had a few customers talk to us about how they love using ManagementStudio to manage their applications. And one of the things they do is they can add a contact to each of their applications, or multiple contacts, so that they can manage who is the app owner, who is the tester, and so on for that app. But they've had some challenges around those people, those contacts that they add to the apps. They leave the organization at some point, and they wanted to get notifications of that happening so that they could be proactive and find a new app contact for those apps which have lost their contacts. That's the concept that we're running through here. So we've added some new features to our product to allow us to do that. And let me just show you how we do that. So I've got a demo instance of ManagementStudio here. This is the dashboard. Now, whilst I was playing with this yesterday, I was looking at my applications dashboard and I realized that you can actually add some stats around this app notifications, so apps with missing contacts, into the dashboard if you want to. So this is showing me, I've got 3 different types of app contact. They are app requester, app owner, and UAT. And there's 1 app with a missing app requester. There's 4 apps with missing app owners and 1 app with a missing UAT person. So that's just my high level reporting. Before I run through the demo, I want to run the scheduled task. This takes a couple of minutes to run. This is the bit of technology that actually sends the email. And I've set this to run once a week. So the idea is on a Monday morning at 8 a.m, you can see I've got it here, it's going to run every task under here. And that's actually my script that sends out this email. The concept is, and I'm just going to run that now manually, that each Monday morning at 8 o'clock, the apps team will receive the email to say, these are the applications which have lost their contacts. How does that work? So it's pretty straightforward to set up. First of all, let's go into the applications. Before I show you the report that I've created, I'm going to show you one of the apps. So this is just an application and this has a contact in it. And that is Sarah Sanchez. So that's how the application contacts are added. You just hit this button here, attach contact, and you can add as many as you like. For this function to work, for this notification to work, I need to have a data mining report. So I've created one already, I've saved it, and I'll run that now. And what that's doing is basically looking at the apps, looking at the contacts of the apps, and then looking at their AD data. So the Active Directory data for the users is being pulled in with our AD connector. So we can list out the apps that have a contact where the Active Directory account has either been deleted, so that's where it says not found in AD, or the Active Directory account has been disabled. And these are the things that typically happen if someone leaves the organization. Either their AD account will be deleted or it will be disabled. And what we've done in this report, we've applied some filtering so that we only show the apps which have an AD account or a contact with AD accounts that have either been deleted or disabled. So these are our 6 applications that we're worried about at this point in time. Now, I don't want to have to come in and run this manually. So what I've done is I've saved the report and it gets this ID of 8. How do we send an email out containing that report? Well, what we do is we go back into administration and we look at the email templates. And again, I've created an email template. It's pretty straightforward. It's in here under email templates. It's this app owner email. And if I click this button, it shows me the editor effectively. You can kind of ignore this first section here. That's just to put some borders around a table. This is where all the magic happens. So there's a bit of text to say, hello apps team, and an explanation of why we're sending them this email. The important part though are the 2 lines at the bottom. This first one is it's a keyword that's going to send out a data mining report, an applications data mining report, that's the A, with the ID of 8. And it's going to put that in as a table into the email. So it's embedded in the email. And I've also added a line to attach that report as an Excel attachment. You probably wouldn't do both of these in the real world, but that's just to show you that you can do both. Because I have run the task that sends that email, if I come to my email now, you should see, there it is, a new email has come in. And that came in 11:08, just a couple of minutes ago, in fact, 1 minute ago. So this is my email template. I've just set up a fictitious law firm, and this is the content here, which we saw that text in the template editor. And then this is the report being displayed as an embedded table. So as an apps team member, I can see I've got 6 apps that I need to find new app owners or app requesters for, and I can start to action those. And of course, I've got that Excel attachment as well if I wanted to look at that. So this is really useful. It enables the apps team to get this proactive weekly or daily email if you want, so that they know exactly which applications have lost their app contacts and they can be quite proactive about it, and hopefully prevent that issue coming up where an app needs some kind of involvement from the app owner and we don't have the app owner anymore. So it's a really powerful bit of tech. If you do want to get this added to your system, you'll need to get the latest version of ManagementStudio, and then it takes maybe 10 or 15 minutes, maybe on a mentoring session or a support call, where we can talk you through how to set this up. Great stuff. I hope that's been useful. I'm now going to pass over to Chris, who's going to talk to you about how you can automatically upgrade lots and lots of machines each day. Chris, over to you.
Hello. Right, let me just share my screen. So it comes through okay.
Yeah, got that.
Excellent. Okay, so this is really a very quick 5-minute run through the enterprise service management module. And that module is used to automate processes using a simple interface instead of scripting. So there is actually a module in every module within an ESM module within every module within Studio. So there is a device one and a user one, etc. This one is purely focused on device. So the process I'm going to run through is a Windows 10 upgrade process to get all devices onto the latest supported version. So this process is quite a simple one, and it's just got an identify step, a schedule step, which I'll go through those 2 in detail. Then it's got the add to AAD group step using the Azure connector. Then it's got the detection step, which uses the Intune connector. So it uses information you're getting back through Intune. And then it has a 10-day wait before it goes to a complete stage. The reason for that is just to check for rollbacks, so it's just a pause. So you've seen this upgrade and you just want to make sure nobody's rolling back before you say yes, it's all done and complete. So this is what an ESM looks like. And if you look at these, so this is the one in the devices module here, and each ESM can be limited in a lot of ways actually, but in this instance, I'm limiting by process. So I'm just saying only look at things in the identified queue. And then I have a number of checks I'm going to run. So an ESM has an evaluator step at the beginning, and these are my evaluations for this one. So I'm quite cautious, as you can tell by the number of checks I'm doing, but I'm checking the device isn't already in a deployment unit. So the deployment unit's blank. I'm using a regular expression here to check it doesn't match the target version of Windows 10 already. And then I'm using another one. This isn't really necessary, but belt and braces to check that it doesn't match Windows 11. Version 10.0.22x is Windows 11. And then I'm checking it's not already in the process, not already been processed. So what I tend to do when I create a process is I create a process tracker in a tab, and this is just checking that I haven't actually been through this process before and tagged this as being run. And then it's the last two are I'm just checking it's not a shared device, not a kiosk device. So and those are just host name checks. So there are a number of checks here through the identified bucket, just to identify devices and get them into the process. So and on publish for this one in the I've got the tracker updates here. So I just say that's just a checkbox. So set the checkbox to true and set a date to today. And then it moves the process of the device through to in scope. And then my next ESM again is limited to in scope. Yeah, so it's just the process step we're interested in. You've noticed I've got no schedules on these because this is just something I've mocked up in the development system. Then here I'm just in my evaluation. It's very simple here on this one because I've already verified their in scope on the previous one. So I'm just saying, has it been through that in scope process, the identifying process? True. And I'm just checking again, it's not in a deployment unit and it's not in a deployment slot. And then here on the actions, I've actually split this into two sections. So if you look here, you've got an on publish and an on success step. If the publish step doesn't work, the on success will not run. So this allows you to verify something's happened before you do something else. So what to do here is on publish, I add to the Windows 10 upgrades deployment unit. And then when that's happened on success, I then say auto schedule in that DU. I don't have to specify the DU. And then I say set my tracker. So again, I have a tracker for each step. So just set the checkbox, set the date to today, and move the process to scheduled. If you don't, the reason I have a deployment unit is because I want a forward schedule of change. If you don't want that, if you just want to put devices into a group, you could add to group at this stage. You wouldn't have to do the deployment unit parts. And then the last thing I've done here is within an ESM, you can limit the number of items that you run against each time. So I could set this to publish twice a day or once a day, but each time it runs, it would only run it against 1,000 items. And then that's it. And that allows me to set the cadence basically to make sure you don't just blitz through 66,000 devices or something and put them all into a group. It allows you to be quite measured about how this runs. So if you're trying to limit load on a service desk or something like that, this is your friend, basically. And that is the end of my presentation. Ben, back to you.
Great, thanks for that, Chris.
Thank you.
Hopefully that's been useful for others to see how you can start to automate upgrades of devices with lots of control. Yeah, really, really powerful piece of technology. Matt, can I hand over to you now to talk about readiness, please?
You can indeed. Thank you, Ben. So I'd love to show you what I look like, but unfortunately Teams is self-censoring today and crashes every time I try and connect my web camera. So unfortunately, you don't get me. Probably not a bad thing, though. What I'm going to do, though, is spend a few minutes talking to you about how we can use readiness within your day-to-day transformation or BAU activities in Management Studio. So first thing I want to do, though, is because I'm kind of aware that maybe there's some of you that have not used readiness before, is just spend a moment talking about what that means in terms of Management Studio. I'm going to use a user as an example, but the concept applies to the other modules within Management Studio. Now, as your users go through the process, through their journey, various things happen, and the key thing is that we track the things that are important to them to do their job. So that could be the devices, or in this case, it's going to be applications. Now, if we've got a big change coming up, so let's say we're migrating everybody to Windows 11 or Windows 12, what we don't want to do is move them before all their applications are ready, because the users just aren't going to be able to do their job. But because we know which applications users are using, and because we're tracking the progress of each of their applications, we can monitor when these applications are moved into production. And when all those users' applications are into production, we then consider the user to be ready for the production environment as well. So that's essentially what we mean by readiness. But this metric's really useful because it allows us to do a few things. First of all, it gives us a really good view of where we are now. It allows us to baseline the environment and look for any quick wins or low-hanging fruits that might help us just to push the progress forward a little bit. It also allows us to plan forward as to what might be coming down, which users that could be ready in a few weeks' time. And also we can use these metrics in a couple of different places within the platform to help improve things like the workflow and end user experience. So let's take a look at what this looks like in Management Studio. I've got my users here. What I'm going to do is just filter the grid on a subset of users. So we'll choose England. Now, what's nice, if you are rolling out by something like country or by business unit, whatever it might be, the previous set of users that get migrated might have applications that could benefit the current set. So let's say Italy's just rolled out. They might be sharing applications with our English users, but right now I can't actually see that on my screen. I can see I've got a lot of users and they've got a lot of applications, but not how many of those applications are ready. So the first place that we can find the readiness metric is in the data mining report. So if I just come up to the ribbon, there's actually a built-in report that you can use. So I'll just kick that off. And what this is doing is it's very quickly we can see which users are ready within the project and which aren't. Straight away, I can see I've got a lot of red on this report, which means we've got a lot of work to do. But I've got some useful information across the top just here. I can see the percentage of applications that are ready, and I'm going to sort the grid by that. I can also see the number of outstanding apps, the number of apps that are ready in total. So what it does show is, well, first of all, we've got a lot of work to do, but we do have a few users, or one user in this case that's ready to go right now, and a couple of users that are ready to migrate quite soon. We can see these people, they've only got 2 applications left. We could break open into those users, take a look at what applications they've got and potentially push those forward. In terms of adding this data to the grid though, it's simply a case of just coming up to this option at the top, the add readiness tier, and choosing the module that you want to add onto that view. We've already added applications, but we could easily put things like devices on there. And the nice thing about this is once the information's on the grid, we can start to use that detail in our data mining report. So I can create a report that just shows me the users that are ready to go, or maybe I want to take a look at users that have got maybe 75% of their applications ready. So that's where we are today. Let me just minimize this. One of the things I want to do is take a look at the users that might be ready in a week or two, but what's coming down the line. So let me just kick this off. This is one of our projection reports. If you've seen any of our demos lately, you'll have seen us use this. We love this report because it gives us a really simple view of the kind of effort and the kind of cadence we need to get our users migrated across. Now, the last report that we saw showed us that there was a lot of work to do. What this shows us is actually there's quite a bit of work to do over the next few weeks. It's going to take at least a month, maybe 6 weeks before our users, we've got a decent number of users that are ready to migrate. So we're taking that information about the estate, and while it's not showing us readiness today, it's taking the same kind of algorithm that we use and saying, well, in 4 weeks, who will be ready? In 6 weeks, who is going to be ready based on the applications that they're using? If you've not seen this report before, let me just click onto one of these blocks. What's really nice about this is we can then dive down to that particular week of activity. We can see the 25 applications that I need to have ready that week. And also I can see the users as well that will be ready to migrate that week, assuming we get all these applications through. So this is great for the applications team. It starts to set expectation about what they need to do, but also allows us to get a view around the logistics concerning our rollouts and our user communications. So we know where we are today. We know what's coming up in the future. Let's look at how we can use that information to help streamline and simplify the processes of talking to our users and getting users moved through the process. So the next thing I want to show you is our automation engine. So this is the second place that the metrics can be exposed. This isn't anywhere near as rich as the servicing plan that Chris showed you, but the same concepts are there. At the top, I've restricted my report by country blueprints just there, and I've also restricted it to a process because I don't want to be moving users around as their readiness changes, so we just want to focus on one particular process. But essentially what we're looking at with this report, this service plan, is we're looking to see if all the application, if we have an application that's ready and all those applications, all those users' applications are ready as well. If they meet that criteria, then what we're going to do is we'll move them to, let's just clear that away. We'll move them to the next process that we've got, which in this case is scheduling, and I'm going to send my users an email inviting them to choose their own migration slot. So let me just kick this off. In addition to those activities, we could also maybe lock the user so that if they have any other applications that they use later on, that doesn't affect their overall readiness. We could even automatically generate a migration slot for them if we wanted to do that. Some of the customers have even taken the readiness metric and brought that through to the grid. So there's just a chat box on there. They don't need to go into the data mining reports. They can literally just filter off that chat box from the main grid, which saves a bit of time. Let me just go. Let me just check that this is actually run. That's great. So it's got one user. So let's just jump back into our data mining report here. So if you remember that criteria we set, we were looking for applications that were ready, and we've got a lot of users here that do have applications already. But the second criteria is we want all applications ready, and that only applies to one user. In this case, this is Ryan. So if I just rerun this report, it may take a moment because we're running this against all of our users. And then I'll sort my readiness report. We'll notice that Ryan moved from the validating process into the scheduling process. So that ESM has gone off. It's used the same columns that we've got on this data mining report, and it's performed those actions that we've told it that we want to happen. So we did just look in that the ESM plan there about applications, and we were just looking at the ones that were ready. Like I said right at the start, this applies to all the different modules that we've got in Management Studio. So we can look at the devices, we could look at defects associated to a user maybe. And we can take in our ESM plan, we can take the same kind of headings that we saw in the data mining report, like the percentage of readiness, outstanding applications, that kind of thing, and we can use them in the plan to create these servicing plans that can really help drive your progress forward without you actually getting involved. I mean, just imagine the effort if you've got thousands of users having to manually check applications and which ones are ready, which aren't ready, send out those emails. It makes it a lot easier for the project team, and it also means that the experience for the end user is greatly improved as well. So hopefully that's given you an idea of some of the things you can do with application readiness with the Management Studio. That's all it's available already. I suspect for most of you, you don't need an upgrade. So do encourage you to go off and take a look at that and see what you can do. Ben, I'm going to hand back to you for questions.
Thanks, Matt. That was excellent. I really like the readiness stuff that we do. I think it's really powerful, especially now we've got it integrated into the automation engine. You know, the stuff Matt was showing you in that ESM plan, where you can have a couple of lines from a user automation plan reaching into their apps and going, you know, are the apps ready? Are there some, you know, more than 0 apps? I've got loads of customers using that particular plan to drive all sorts of automation like Matt showed you. So this is kind of real life stuff that lots of people are doing. As I said earlier on, if you want to implement this type of thing in your instance, just get in touch with whoever your main contact is, and we can do that either via a support call or via a mentoring session. So yeah, do make the most of this stuff if you want to use it. So that's it in terms of the presentations. I don't know if we've got any questions from anybody at all. It would be nice if you wouldn't mind unmuting and asking them, or if you're feeling a little bit shy, then feel free to put them in the chat. I know the chat is working because we had a question in there earlier on. In fact, the question earlier on was about recording. So this session is being recorded, and we will be sending out a link over the next few days, so that if you didn't get a chance to see the whole thing, you can recap and watch the whole thing. Right, I think there was a hand up.
Yeah, Alexander first stuck his hand up. So Alexander,
hello. Hopefully you can all hear me very well. Hello, yes, I'm Alexander Black from Travis Perkins PLC. Just a quick query in terms of these mentoring sessions and checking we're all up to a standard. How do we book these, and is there a cost involved?
Yeah, good question. So the mentoring sessions come as part of our service. So it's as long as you're in support, so as long as your license is in support, then you're entitled to a mentoring session each week. We generally say it's an hour a week, but if if it needs to be a couple of hours one week, that's absolutely fine. So just get in touch with your contact, whoever that is. If you don't know who that is, you can always drop me an email. You should be able to get my details. In fact, you have got my details from the invite, and then I can put you in touch with the right person. So hopefully that's useful.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Ben.
No worries. Any other questions at all? And I like those questions, because if people come out with really technical questions on this and put me on the spot, I get a bit anxious. So yeah, I like those sort of questions.
Yeah, we also had Azim stick his hand up. Azim, do you want to unmute yourself?
Yeah. Hey Ben, don't worry, I won't get too techie. It's really good. Like some of these things that you guys went through, we use quite a lot. But I just think you guys whiffed over some of the things a bit too much, as in when you were showing the scheduled tasks. Just wanted to add to that to let the others know a little bit more around this. So with the scheduled tasks, not sure if everyone has used it before or not. There's an option for you if you've got a number of tasks that are scheduled in a window. Previously, you had to go through and trigger each one of them individually, but by hitting that run now button that Ben hit, it would run all of the tasks in that schedule. So we've used that quite a lot. If there was an outage on your server or your instance was down and then it fires back up, saves you having to go through and run every task one by one, you could just go to that scheduled tasks page and just run the scheduled window as a whole. So that was just really something I wanted to just let everyone else know, that it's not just a single task you run, it runs everything in there. And then our favorite is a projection report. We did speak about blueprints, and the projection report does run quite quickly depending on the amount of users you have. We've got a big estate, so we have like 100,000 users, a couple of thousand apps, 100,000 devices, so on. So it does take a while to run if you're running against everything, but you don't normally have to run it against everything. So as best practice, what we've done is we've got blueprints obviously created for our tranches, our departments, our deployment areas. So you could just run the blueprint against a specific blueprint. So you have a smaller set of users, smaller set of apps and devices. It makes the projection report run a lot faster, saving you having to run it across your entire estate. So yeah, they're really the two things I wanted to mention.
Yeah, no, they're really good points. And on that projection report, there's been a recent update where if you say run it for, I only selected a small number of users just so it's nice and quick, but it looks ahead in 4 weeks. And there's this new button up here. I'm not sure if anyone's seen this, but you can then run it for the 4 weeks afterwards, so the next wave. And it makes running this a lot faster. And it gives you the option of actually looking in further into the future without having to rerun the entire report. So yeah, no, that's a good one to bring up. Thanks for that. Great stuff. That's the sort of question I like, but I don't actually have to say too much.
Yeah, we've had a lot of pain with this, and so I thought about it as a let it out to everyone else as well. It's a lot easier to do if you cut it down a little bit. So yeah. Sure.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. Cool. Matt, have we had any other hands up at all? Do you know?
I can't see anything else. No, let me just check the chat. See if there's anything there.
Do you mind if I ask Chris a question?
Sure.
It's just interesting.
I think Chris is off at the moment. I think he's had to attend another meeting. Chris Fox.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
He had to shoot off, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Okay. I was just
I might
I was
be
just
able
gonna
to answer it, JP.
Yeah, it was just about the so he's doing Windows 10
Yes.
upgrades, but he's also running a Windows 11 project at the same time, isn't he?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
is it just the fact that he's running the Windows 10,000 devices a day? That's just to get up to the latest version so that everybody's supported while they go through Windows 11, because there's some delays on that.
So they're at a state of about 55,000 machines. Windows 11 readiness is slowing them a little bit, moving to Windows 11, so they're waiting on apps. Meanwhile, the Windows 10 estate they've got is aging and is not on the last release of Windows 10. So the demonstration that Chris showed you was how can he upgrade the existing estate from Windows 10 to Windows 10, but moving to the latest, the last supported version, which buys him more time. One of the things he didn't tell you in there was that in his actual ESM on his live site, he looks into the other project to see if the machine he's considering for Windows 10 upgrade is due a Windows 11 upgrade in the next 4 weeks. And if it is, he doesn't upgrade it. So he doesn't bother with the Windows 10 upgrade. He goes straight to 11. Why would you hit the user twice if you don't need to? So that's going on as well.
And one of the other things he said yesterday when we were just going through this, which I thought was amazing, was that of those 65,000 devices that he's working on, there are only 5 people in the team, including 1 project manager and 2 comms people.
It's a bit worse than that, yeah. It's a bit. This is for Windows 11 and Windows 10. It's a bit worse than that. There's 2 of those people are comms people. They are a global company. We send emails in about 25 languages, I think. Yeah. So that comms team, while small, has a lot to do. There's 1 project manager, 1 technical consultant who's dealing with the builds, and Chris, and that's it.
Well, that was a cool comment you made yesterday. I thought that was good. Anyway, I'll hand it back. But thanks, Dave. Thanks for confirming.
You're welcome.
Thanks for that, Matt. Any other questions at all?
Not that I can say. No, I think that's everything.
All right, thanks everyone for attending. I think we'll wrap up there. As I said, we'll send out a recording over the next few days. Thanks for being here, and hopefully chat to you all soon.